Hey everyone, it's me, Adam P, and welcome to my reaction and review of Survivor Winners at War Episode 8, Merge! Drop your buffs, woo! Before we dive in, first of all, I hope everyone's doing the best they can during this pretty odd and difficult time. This episode is a very important one because we got the competition on who's coming back the first time, and then we have the merge, of course, part 2. The mid-season. Right away, they were like, okay, they're gonna compete. Tokens, trade tokens. I feel kind of bad for all those people who wrote all those intricate lists of who has what tokens. And then all of a sudden, just in a 1 minute span, they're like, okay, they're buying this, we're trading this, we're gonna give them this, we're giving this. And it's like, wait, slow down, what's going on? From what I could gather, is I guess everyone had enough tokens to get advantages except for King Yule, Parvati. Rob could buy a idol, and then Natalie bought an idol, and that's Natalie got it from her own coin, and then thankfully Rob, his wife, is there and got voted out, thankfully, so he took her coin. Yule has nothing, and yet he is the one that came in the latest. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, well, he lasted longer than them, and yet they seem like they're in a lot better position for this comeback than Yule. So I was kind of like, why do you gotta punish, why do you gotta punish the person who did the best out of all of them? But Yule has been eating more than all of them. So that could be the thing too. Maybe that equalizes them, I guess. So, because compared to Natalie, and how she's eating versus Yule. And it's a hodgepodge of a bunch of different obstacles we've seen. Of course, the legendary make a stick and get the key. And, of course, the ball in the snake trail. We've seen that before. Amber, Parvati, and Yule don't have an advantage. Everyone else gets an advantage with that. They don't have to dig in there deep to get this bag. But you know, it looked like Yule was in dead last, and then he came back, and it was so close. And then it was neck and neck between Tyson and Rob. And I feel like if I was there first to the snake ball pit thing, slidey thing, I would take so much careful time. I wouldn't even try and rush it. It takes so much careful time. But once people are starting to come up near me, then it's like, okay, we got to kick it into high gear. But in the end, Tyson beat out Rob, and I think the peanut butter helped him out. I side-eyed Tyson for buying that peanut butter immediately. However, that ended up helping him. But then I'm also confused. How did he get an advantage? I don't know. And he is definitely on the outs, which is very interesting to see someone like Tyson being on such the outs, you know? So then they have their legendary merge tribe feast. It was interesting to see the dynamic of Wendell being like, we need to get rid of strong players immediately, okay? And then Tony's like, we need to get rid of weak players so we can have meat shields in front of us. But, you know, Wendell, you want to get rid of strong players because you're not one of them. And they are called the Karu tribe, which it's cute, it has a ring to it, but their first few nights was rain, which, man, I think that has to be the worst part of Survivor, is when you're sitting there in the cold rain, can't do nothing, you don't feel like going anywhere, so all you can do is just sit. Oh, I think that would make me worse, is sitting and doing nothing. That would make me feel worse than just being cold. I can deal with being cold, I guess. But just sitting and doing nothing would drive me more crazy. So we get to our very first immunity challenge. A legendary game. Totem pole, get up there, hold on long as you can, period. That's it. And that's why I really like this endurance competition. I could see big, strong people winning it, and you could see tiny people winning it, which is what we got both of today, because one woman gets immunity, one male gets immunity. And I'm really glad that they added that you get a fire token for your win. It makes you want to win even more, I feel like. And these tokens are really going to come into play later. Something cray is going to happen again with these tokens. I can feel it. The first few minutes, I immediately thought, you know what? Jeremy would be really good at this because he's a fireman. he's very strong arm. So I immediately was thinking, Jeremy can pull through. And then Denise, Mama has strong arms too. Do not count her out. She had a great combination of being tiny and having very strong arms. I think that's what really helped her. I was really glad to see Denise win. She's actually one of my favorites, in all honesty. I really liked her in her season because it's sort of iconic that you attended every single tribal council your season. And I like the way Denise plays because she's very modest and moderate. However, she will cut your throat. Jeremy takes the win. Good for him. I'm glad to see him stay a little longer. However, he has a plan intact. He's like, I need to make sure that Wendell stays and Nick goes so I can be Wendell's wingman. But I gotta not make it look obvious. That's the trick, Jeremy. That is the trick. So I don't know what would be a good strategy for this. I guess, in my opinion, you just have to go around, get information before you really throw out a name. And maybe just be like, oh, how's it going? How are you with this person, this person? How are you with Nick? How are you with Nick? And then if they don't really are enthusiastic about it, you can be like, well, just make it more nonchalant. Maybe that's what I would do, but people could see through BS, especially this season. There's a lot of BS detectors out there. In this segment, it was a lot to keep up. We were playing tennis with these names going on. It was like Nick, Wendell, Adam, Wendell, Nick. I was like, whoa. I think the bros people started throwing out names first. And since they were the first people to throw names, their preferences started to trickle down throughout the rest of the tribe. And that's why those names started out first. Because, and it started to feel like episode 1 all over again, where they were all like, okay, who's gonna say? Who do we say? But I don't want to say it. And they made a great point about Adam. He was a snake a few episodes ago. And you can't deny that. We got another great confessional from Sophie. She has some really interesting ones. She said, and she was saying, I could tell the macho bros came together and they were wanting to call the shots, and that she can tell why they want to keep Wendell over Nick and over Adam. So she read the tribe pretty quickly, even though Jeremy, that was his goal, not to get read by it. So that was good for Sophie, being like, I see you. I think it just became more too obvious that Wendell was an important asset for a group of people. You could tell. So I think Jeremy's plan kind of didn't work, where since you were the first people to bring up a name, it's like, okay, well, we know who you want and who you don't want. Because not only were you like, we want Nick out, you were like, we don't want Wendell out. In a way, it's more important to hear who you don't want out in the final 12, in the first night of merge. So it kind of hurt a little bit, but I can see Jeremy was really trying to not make it look obvious. And it was nice to see that they ended up trying to work with Nick, and I think their opinion on Nick changed. But, I feel like Nick is about to scurry on off after the vote. But they can see there's trust with Nick. There's trust. And the whole time, Jeremy, you could have been Nick's wingman instead. But I understand why Jeremy wanted to go with Wendell. They had a pre-existing relationship. So I get it. I understand. That segment where Jeremy went to Denise and was like, and he made it very transparent, was like, we might vote out Adam. Sorry. But I think Denise made the right call, being like, hey, I didn't promise to Adam anything. And so, I'm cool with sending out Adam. I think she made the right response, Even though she was safe and no one could touch her, she still made the right response, being like, we could get rid of him. So then we get to tribal council, and the only note I really wrote was that it hurts seeing Yule on a jury. It does. It stings a little. We knew in this season legends were going to get voted out. But, I didn't know this quickly. So then we get to the vote, and another moment I really liked was that Adam was like, it's either me or you. And Wendell, I don't think you realize that. And that's true. I don't think Wendell realized that. It seemed like the macho tribe or whatever, It didn't turn out to be the Macho Alliance because they didn't vote together. But they were kind of like, you're good, boo. You're good. So I could see why Wendell probably didn't have an inkling as to thinking that he was going home. And I wasn't sure. At first, I thought Adam's a goner. But then once we started seeing the 4th and the 5th vote for Wendell, I was like, uh-oh. So, turns out, by a vote of 9-3, Wendell, you are evicted from Fiji Island, going to the edge. And then here's the thing. I'm a little peeved that they don't show us the votes. I really miss that moment of seeing the cameras as showing people who they voted for. But I've been looking it up. Michelle, Nick, and Wendell voted out Adam. So that means Jeremy voted out Wendell. Woo! Uh-oh, SpaghettiOs. I think he got an inkling and a hint and was like, oh, well, it's not going to work out in my favor. So that's why he went with the majority. If I was Nick, I would feel very annoyed. I would be like, bro, you couldn't tell me? You couldn't tell me? Even I agreed to you that I would vote out Adam. You couldn't give me the heads up. Oh, it's Wendell now, by the way. He treated you pretty bad, Michelle, so I don't know why you wanted to keep him. But I guess I have a feeling they probably were like, final 2. Okay? Final 2, no matter what. Alrighty, well, thank you guys so much for checking out my thoughts and review on Winners at War episode 8. We're finally at the merge. Things are about to get exciting. I've been thinking, what are we going to do for the finale? I can't tell yet. It's a little, everything's unpredictable right now. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you can get more pop culture tea from me, Adam P. And lastly, make sure you hit me up on my social media. And I will see you guys next time for more Winners at War, episode 9, top 11, boom, boom, boom.